Hey Indies, welcome back to my channel. So today I will be showing you how to transfer your draped bodice from mannequin to paper. Now this is a very beginner friendly tutorial. What you'll need is your pattern paper, ruler, a pen or pencil, marker, and a tape measure. So what you'll see here is where I draped the basic back bodice using mother fabric, and I'm going to remove it from my mannequin with the pen still intact. Now I'm taking my see-through ruler and I am going to create a center back line. Now this is for the back piece. So what I'm going to do is use that center back line as a guide to line up the muslin pattern piece. And I just want to make sure that the pattern piece is going to be straight, on a straight line. So what you'll see me doing here is removing my pins from my dart area, and this is just to lay my pattern piece out flat. And then another thing I like to do is go in and cut off any excess fabric, and even if it was for my seam allowance, I'll actually just cut it off to match the original style line that I created, and then go back and add the seam allowance if needed. So once I open my dart, I'm going to cut out just a fourth of seam allowance, leaving a fourth end to sew. I personally like to split my darts open because they lay flat and it's easier to sew them that way, honestly. So if you have trouble sewing your darts, try splitting the dart open before you cut it or before you sew it and see how that works out for you. So now what I'm doing is just creating my guidelines, and this is just so when I remove the muslin from the paper, I know exactly where my dart goes. Now I'm going to go ahead and just use the see-through ruler to outline the rest of my pattern. And I usually like to do my straight lines first. And then what I'll do for the curved lines is actually create dashes. This way it's easy to trace them back in with the curved ruler once I remove the muslin pattern piece from the paper. Alright, once I've created all of my guides, I go ahead and remove the pattern piece. And I'm going to take my see-through ruler and I'm going to first fill in my dart. Now remember, with my dart, I did leave a fourth of a seam allowance inside of it. So a dart will probably appear a little bit smaller than the original line that you created on the muslin. Now I'm going to use my curve ruler. This is a hip curve ruler to try to fill in my neckline. And honestly, with the curves, you just kind of gotta, make the ruler work for you. So you'll see me kind of move it back and forth to try to get the most accurate straight line I can. Now I'm going to take my tape measure. This particular piece is a client's piece, so I want to just go from my shoulder to waist, just to make sure that this piece is accurate and it matches the measurements that was given. And then I'm going to go ahead and add that seam allowance. And make sure once you add the seam allowance, you go ahead and bring that dart into the seam allowance. Now I'm just gonna go in and trace my armhole. And again, like if you don't have an armhole ruler, if you make your dashes close enough, it's just as equal as, filling in the blanks pretty much. So I just go ahead and trace that line based off of my dashes, which still looks pretty accurate to me. Now what I'm going to do here is go ahead and add a seam allowance for my zipper. Now this is the center back, so this is the particular closure that I'll be doing for this piece right here. Make sure you guys, if you're using your muslin fabric or you're using a woven fabric, whatever, just make sure you add the seam allowance in the back for the zipper, or you'll change the size of your garment. And then what you'll see me doing here is just making my grain line, which is going to just show you what direction the pattern piece needs to lay on the fabric. And then I'll add other miscellaneous information like what the piece is and how many to cut. Now I am going to add a fourth at my shoulder, and that's because I had already added a fourth in on the pattern and didn't cut it out. And then my neckline, excuse me, and my armhole already has seam allowance in it, so I don't need to add any there. Now I'm going to take my paper scissors and go ahead and cut the pattern piece out. Now, unfortunately, I am a lefty, so excuse me as I awkwardly cut out my pattern piece and try to not block the camera, which I end up doing anyways. And then once I actually get the pattern piece cut out, I'm gonna go in and make sure I cut my dart back out. And again, if you left the seam allowance in when you made the original line, then you don't have to worry about your seam line. You don't have to worry about seam allowance when you cut the dart. And trust me, if you're really struggling with this, it's so easy to do. And that's pretty much going to be the end of this tutorial. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And make sure you leave me any messages. Let me know what it is that you guys want to see. And as always, stay hungry, stay humble, and stay blessed. Until next time. Bye.